Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Fiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth definitely matters. You can find us on the radio at icradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, channel 182, Charter Communications, and Abundance Television syndicated on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast, where the truth matters there as well. You'll get full information. That is the newscasters.com. Newscaster Studio, and continue sending emails. Boy, have I been flooded with them this morning. Donna at donnasedge.com. I will say this, compared to just some of the emails I've read, we're not a lost country. People are mad, and they're mad about this debate we just suffered through last night. What are your thoughts? Don Brown, by the way, my friend, I think everybody knows Don because Don's my friend. So Don Brown, attorney Don Brown, author and speaker, has written several books, and you need to get the books and read them. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Thank you, Don. Good to be here with you.
Good to be here. Absolutely. Well, you're all smiles.
Well, I mean, first off, we set this a couple of weeks ago, anticipating commentary after the debate. My thoughts are that President Trump came out looking like $1 million, and she came out looking like a fool. This was a colossal defeat for Kamala. And you ask why? Well, people can. Now, I've been involved in political debates. I've been involved in lots of media interviews, court cases where I've been put on the spot. And I've always, every time I've done something like that, I've said, oh, golly, I wish I'd said this, wish I said that. But at the end of the day, people take general impressions away. Yeah, there may be a one-liner here, one-liner there. The president got some great ones in on her. We can talk about that. But again, as I often like to say, let's start at 30,000 feet. One, he looked presidential because he is presidential. He's been president. Cool and calm as a cucumber. Did not get rattled. Answered the questions. Yeah, I wish he'd said some things he didn't say, but that's beside the point. He looked rock solid. And people were warning, oh, he's going to lose it. Never did. I mean, it's almost a replay in some ways of what happened back on June 27th when he faced off Biden. On the other hand, she looked like a freaking clown. What do I mean by that? I mean, all this flailing with her hands. She looked like a clown flailing with her hands. She did not look presidential at all. She smirked over and over and over and over and over again. And that contrast in impressions is going to set with people. It's going to help finish her campaign. I mean, the libs try to spin it as well as they could. Oh, she didn't do this. She didn't have a gaffe like Biden, but she blabbed. And it's interesting. They will say the Democrats will accuse you of what they do themselves. You're going to hear a lot of lies, she says, but then turns around and denies that she ever called for the ban of fracking. You're going to hear a lot of lies, she says, but then turns around and makes it appear that she is against, late-term abortion when, as Marco Rubio pointed out last night, she voted against the Born Alive Protection Act as a member of the United States Senate. So they throw lies left and right, but the general impressions are going to be what carries today. And she looked like a flailing fool. She looked like a clown who had obviously memorized lines, but one thing she did not look was presidential. So you have calm, cool, steadfast hand in Trump versus a flailing fool. And when you look at the way she answered the questions, and we'll get into the specific questions in a minute, I want to give you some general impressions. But the one question that she failed to answer, and she failed to answer many, even from a friendly liberal in the tank ABC news media, part of the deep state media, the one that she failed to answer that I think is perhaps as important as many is when David Muir, to his credit, I think it was David Muir, he didn't ask her too many hard questions. He asked her, do you take responsibility for what happened at the Abbey Gate with those 13 Americans? And any commander-in-chief, if you're going to be a commander-in-chief, you take responsibility for the victories and the defeats, and ultimately it is your responsibility to take responsibility for the deaths of Americans. She flailed like a fool and deflected and went off into la-la land and showed to any veteran like me or anyone who loves our military, she showed that she acts like a fool and is not even will never be close to being worthy of commander-in-chiefship. And I thought that was significant. But I thought it was a great night for the president. I thought that, she looked, like the idiot that she is. She gave no substantive answers. And, it'll take, I think, a few days for the effect of this to settle for those who are watching. But most people are not like you and I, Donna, in that they're paying a whole lot of attention to policy so much, but this is just a general impression thing. And a lot of Trump people were saying, "Oh, just don't lose it, don't do that." Cool as a cucumber. He looked great. And now I don't think she will debate again. I think she's afraid to debate again. She can talk big game, but she would never subject herself to questioning from Fox News, panelist. Not that Fox is as far to the right as it used to be, but certainly the questions would be a little more balanced, and someone would force her to answer. And plus, I don't think you would see Fox or someone like that trying to fact check everything the president said and giving her a pass on her myriad number of lies. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks. But it was a great night for the president. She looked like a fool, and we'll go from there. And I'm expecting the president to pull this thing off if we can avoid the cheating. And that's the real challenge we've got.
Well, I'm going to look beyond that. And I'm just going to tell you something. Every human on earth has a nutty family member who is a narcissist. And of those of us who do, the only difference, and I'm just going to say it, the only difference between her and my sister is 200 pounds. That's the only thing I'm telling you. And so this is what happens in the real world. Okay, we're dealing with a crazy family member, and this woman reminded us of this crazy family member we have. Just totally turned off. She could have said, I'm gonna authorize this right now while I'm VP. Every American family is going to get $1 million. I wouldn't have heard that. All I'm looking is her mannerisms. I'm looking at the way she's just looking, just this narcissistic way she acts. And then as far as fact checking, let me mention this. Okay, so yesterday on the show, I had Linda Hansen. And Linda was actually the campaign manager, somebody sending me a text, of Herman Cain. And you're back in the day, back a few years ago.
999.
She mentioned the cat incident yesterday on the show. She said, "Do you know that in Ohio, these Haitians are eating animals? They're eating people's." She mentioned that. So I didn't love that. That sounded a little far-fetched to me. But I believe Linda. She's on the same plane as you are, is what I say. Okay, so I looked and I did a little bit. Now you had to dig, okay? It's not out there. The first thing you search for on Google. Okay, but it's out there. They're eating animals.
August 24th.
That's what they do in a third world country.
Right. Exactly. And there's an example of ABC showing how far it is in the tank for the Democrats. The president brings this up, and David Muir says, we fact-checked that with the county manager, as if the county manager is out, with his telescope and with his recorder watching everything that's happening out there. And as if this anonymous county manager is the ultimate arbiter of truth. We checked with a county manager, David Muir says, we have no evidence of that. Well, WDJP in Ohio on August 24th ran a story, which I posted on my social media this morning, of a woman who had been arrested for killing and eating a pet cat right there in Ohio. And ABC knew this, that Trump would probably make this comment. They were ready to quote unquote fact check. And their fact check is nothing but a propagandist lie. And this is the reason this debate is going to really probably, she will not win this election legitimately. If you can remove 75% of the cheating, she'll lose in a landslide. But that's an example of people see that, Donna. People, they didn't fact check her on anything. I mean, she brought up it was a fine people lie again. She brought up the insurrectionist lie again. And Trump pointed out only one person was killed, and that was Ashley Babbitt. It's interesting, Donna. I'm about to have a book release, and I appreciate you mentioning that. And one of the chapters in there is comparing the January 6th prosecutions to the George Floyd prosecutions. The George Floyd riots, the most expensive and some of the deadliest riots in American history. Over $2 billion worth of property destroyed versus January 6th, when the only person that died was Ashley Babbitt from the result of that. Did you know that in George Floyd, they dismissed 95% of those misdemeanor prosecutions? In January 6th, they have prosecuted 95% of those. This shows the great disparity that we have. And it shows, ABC just let her get away with lie after lie after lie. They didn't fact check her on the fact that she had initially had adamantly opposed fracking. They didn't fact check her on the fact that he's on record favoring single payer, meaning favoring absolute socialized medicine. They didn't fact check her on anything. they fact check, quote unquote, fact check Trump on a bunch of junk that can be disproven. And so she runs about 35 years to try to find some article in the New York Times about the Central Park Five or whoever the heck they are. None of us know who that is, nor do we even care. And they just let her get away with it and try to, quote unquote, fact check him multiple times. They were worse than Candy Crowley was with Romney in 2012. Of course, Trump is much stronger than Romney could ever dare to be. And so he wasn't really having any of it. But it just is an example of how far away it gets. And you are right in your analysis. She's your sister plus 200 pounds. I don't know if your sister watches your show, but it'd be interesting if she does.
Oh, yeah, I'll be getting another narcissist attack.
but you're driving home the point more eloquently than I was trying to make, that people will take impressions from this,
yes,
who may not be as steeped in the issues. They'll take impressions, and we see two things from her to make her look like a fool. Even if you didn't know the truth or falsity of anything she was saying, one are the constant smirks and head shakes. Smirk, head shaking, Yeah. And by contrast, Trump, even though she was throwing one lie after the other, was as cool as a cucumber. And number two is all that ham flailing. We talked about cackling Kamala, but now we got a ham flailer too. She's like a joker juggling a bunch of balls around. She is a joker. And I think that impression is going to hurt her.
I do too. I totally, that was my first impression. Like I said, every family in the United States has one Kamala Harris in it. You one, I don't care who you are. You've got one of those. It's somebody that at Christmas time, you have to really be careful what you say because you can get their feelings hurt and all this stuff, and you just have to walk away from it. And I'm walking away from this woman. I mean, it's just, I had to walk away last night. You know what I did? It was almost over. And I just told Phil, I said, I can't handle it anymore. She reminds me so much of my sister. I said, okay, let's watch Perry Mason. That's what I always go to Perry Mason. He's my guy. So, because I wanted to be an attorney a long time ago. Just I should have done it. That's the one thing I regret in life.
You wound up doing something far more significant. So keep on doing what you're doing, Donna.
But that's the point. And this is another thing. I was noticing the constraint of Donald Trump. I was noticing because not many people on this earth, a lot of people have an ex-wife who is like Kamala Harris. Okay, a lot of people do. I don't know how he didn't reach over there and grab her by the neck and choke her. I mean, to me, that showed that was so much constraint. I'm talking about the things he didn't do that a lot of people would have done.
Well, it was very clear to me that part of their strategy was to try to provoke him, to try to get him to lose his cool. And the more she spewed the garbage, the cooler and calmer he got. Now, do I wish he'd made some points he didn't make? Sure. But, I've written books and I've given speeches and there's always, 2020 is always perfect hindsight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But again, the general impression, he looked like and acted like a commander-in-chief in control. And she looked totally out of control and acted out of control. And I'm sure there are a number of leftist communists out there that are going to suck it up because because that's who they are. But I think to people who may not have been decided, who saw the debate, will certainly, when it's time to go vote, they will see and feel the difference. And we talked about questions that were asked to her that she did not answer. One being, from David Muir, are you better off? Is the economy better off 4 years ago? I was born of an Indian and blah, and Jamaican and blah, 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 blah. I don't
want to hear middle class anymore. I do not want to hear middle class. And I don't want to hear that she was that girl on the bus another time.
Yeah, but the point is she did not and could not answer the question as to whether she's better off, the country's better off economically than 4 years ago, because the answer is no, and everybody knows it, which is why she had to blab with a word salad. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was one, and then of course there was a question about the Abbey Gate. She didn't take responsibility for that, but they didn't hold her feet to the fire on anything. She has, Bernie Sanders, Uncle Bernie, he came out a few days ago and was asked, she appears to be trying to attack to the right. By the way, I thought one of the best lines in the whole debate from Trump was, I thought about sending you a MAGA hat. That was pretty funny.
I loved it. I was like, whoo. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's trying to tack on. That's what Democrats do. I mean, that's what radical Islam does. It's what communists do. They will tack to wherever they need to tack in the short term to gain power in order to be able to burn down the house in the long term. And that is exactly what she's trying to do. And Bernie Sanders pointed out, of course she's leftist. She's just like me, he said, or worse to that effect. She's just saying this to try to get elected. He's right about that. And I hope enough people will be able to see that. But again, I think the general impression is that she's left is going to hurt her a lot. And I'd love to see another debate. I don't think we're going to see it.
Well, Trump has already said this morning, that he would like to have another debate. And then someone at Fox that said, would you like to have it at Fox? He actually said no. He said, no, he wants to bring it on again.
Right, exactly. And the problem is if they do another debate, then they've got to take her off the campaign trail for another 7 days to try to memorize more answers. So that's...
I don't think she memorized anything. Did you see the little earrings she had?
I saw that.
Okay, that's what they are. You can't reject that. You can't say, well, that's crazy Donna coming up with that idea. They actually sell that earring, and that's what it is.
Yep. I saw that. She needs all the help she can get. So there you go. And that is a story that I hope is going to get a little more press in the next few days too, Donna. I do. I really do.
I think it will. But again, my whole takeaway, and I'm, us women, we always see behind the screens. So the women in the whole world and men who have been through a divorce with a crazy woman like that, we notice those little tactics.
Right. And as you pointed out earlier, there's always one in the family. It might be a sibling. It might be an in-law. It might be a crazy uncle. It might be a first cousin or a second cousin. There's somebody in the family that's just like that, that's close enough that you're liable to see them at least once a year at Thanksgiving or Labor Day or whatever, and they're just going to spew a bunch of junk. And, I know you had to walk out. I got you covered for the last couple of minutes. You didn't miss too much. But I can understand that. I was watching this with the Republican women's group in Charlotte last night, and a lot of people felt the same way. Just really, really angered at all the lies that she was throwing out, and it was causing a lot of people to feel that way, because for those of us who study the issues, we know that virtually everything that came out of her mouth was a lie last night.
Another thing, and I've not read all the emails yet, but basically I'm hearing the same story over and over and over again from last night. Is it was a 3-1. You can't deny that.
Right, absolutely. That's the way it typically is, though, when you have any Republican candidate in a debate with any network other than Fox. Fox is the only network that has done these debates that will try to be a little, as Brett Baer would say, a more fair and balanced in the questioning. Of course, the exception to that is when Megyn Kelly tried to take Trump down back in 2016 and wound up taking herself down. But this sort of thing really, really hurts the credibility of ABC News even more. That daggone, we fact check with the county manager stuff. And the other thing is the woman moderator, Muir, I'm trying to remember her name is. Yeah. Donald Trump brought up Ralph Norman, the former governor of Virginia, who has said, and I've got to, you can find it anywhere. It's not hard to find the videotape. He was discussing the abortion, late-term abortion with a radio station in Northern Virginia. And he said, well, you wait till the baby's born, and then you put the baby to the side, and you keep the baby comfortable, and then the discussion will take place between the physician and the parents, and they'll decide what they want to do. The former governor of Virginia said that. Northam is his name. And I don't want to say my friend Ralph Norman, who is a great conservative congressman from Rock Hill. Northam, the governor of Virginia, did say that. And so then you have Kristen Muir say, well, there is no state in the country where there's late-term abortions. Well, sorry, but Minnesota is one of those states. And secondly, the president didn't even say there were states in the country. He was pointing out what the Democrats' position is. But they were ready for that too. They wanted to put that in there. And then you have Kamala. Oh, somebody's bleeding out, and they go here and they go there. All this melodramatic BS where they're trying to light a fire to make people angry to get them out to the polls on an issue that is not at the top of the totem pole.
Well, there's a word. There's something. I'm going to sound like Kamala. There's a word But this is a good word right here. It's called backfire. Things
Right.
can backfire on you. I'm seeing also the emails I'm receiving. A lot of people just turned it off. They didn't even listen to the whole thing, which is a good thing for Trump. Because, I mean, really it is. Okay,
Well,
so she's just going on about nonsense.
well, somebody said you had 40% of the population watching, which would be pretty high if that's accurate. A lot of that's going to be ABC, viewers who are, if they're accustomed to ABC News, this a step down or up from CNN, however you want to say it. They're both in a left-wing tank. And, I think anybody that watched it that's undecided has got to be bothered by the way she looks and sounds. And, again, before anybody goes to that voting booth, drive by the gas tank. Drive by the gas station, see where the gas is. Now, it may be coming down just a little bit, but remember, it was like 186 when Trump left office because he was opening pipelines. And this is one thing I wish Trump would argue. Here's how the inflation started. We could see it coming in October of 2020 when Joe Biden in the debate against Trump famously said, I'm going to end oil and gas as we know it. Okay? Mm-hmm. Trump said, you're going to end oil and gas? That's a pretty big statement. Biden says, yeah, it's a big statement. And as soon as they took office, that's exactly what they started. They killed Keystone. They ended leases in Alaska for oil and gas drilling. They turned us into a dependent nation again. That caused the price of gas to immediately skyrocket, and we saw that. It skyrocketed to $4. It's come down a little bit, but it's skyrocketed because of their so-called green energy junk. And that's another thing to bother me. What are you going to do about climate change as if that's a legitimate issue? But let me come back here. So it raises the price of transportation to get the eggs and bacon and the bread to your local Harris Teeter or Food Lion or Albertsons or Tom Thumb or whatever your grocery store might be, Wendy's. Don't want to leave anybody out. The price of transportation causes the price of food to go up. It causes the price of goods and services to go up. It causes everything to go up because they wage this war on gas, oil and gas, because they push green energy. I like to see Trump articulate that point forcefully. She has gone on record opposing fracking. Mm-hmm. And she's not being able to eliminate it because she hasn't had the votes in the Congress to do it, but she will do that if she gets a chance. That's what's causing the economic damage, that plus the money they're trying to throw out there. They try to buy people's votes. He's tried to throw, money, at people who had to, people like me. Nobody's forgiven my student loans. I already paid them off. But so why should somebody else have me and you pay for the student loans? But they're trying to throw money at people, and that's causing inflation. I like for us to come to that and stay on that point. And I think anybody going to the voting booth, ride by your gas station and go to the grocery store and then go vote. That's what you should do. Ride by the gas station, go to the grocery store, and then go vote and vote your pocketbook. And if you use that as your litmus test, you'll make the right decision, and it will not even be a close call.
Or how about this? Go on ahead and make your house payment on the day you're going to vote. Absolutely. And then take a look at $250,000 she's proposing to give every illegal so they'll have a place to live.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what's going to happen? They're all going to move to Alabama because the cost of land is so, we're going to be flooded. We're already flooded with Haitians right now. They're all over the place, Don. They're bringing buses in all over the place, and it's making some news. I mean, it really is. Just the next city right over from us is 15 minutes away. They're bringing buses in of them.
And Donna, that's the executive branch of the federal government. Let me debunk another fallacious argument that they've made. Oh, Trump, having to do with the border bill. Trump got on the phone and caused them to kill the border bill. We tried to do something. First off, what are you going to let in? 5,000 and whatever it was. That border bill was going to let illegals continue to flow across the border. It wasn't going to shut the border down at all. It was a big grab for money and power for the Democrats. That's all it was. But here's the thing. The Constitution, in Article 4, Section 4, not only guarantees that the Constitution shall guarantee to the states a Republican form of government, but also shall protect the states from invasion. The federal government has an obligation to protect the states from invasion. The executive branch, that is the president, has the authority under the Constitution to shut the border and to deploy the military to protect from an invasion. This is not an immigration issue. It is an invasion issue. And I would like to see that argument. I mean, if I had been in the Congress, I certainly would argue that point. But that's a point that needs to be considered. So trying to blame Trump, we blame Trump for everything, trying to blame him for their own porous border policies, whereas they, catch and release. They've done everything they can to keep the borders open because that's what they want to do. She hasn't been to the border. Try to blame for Trump that is disingenuous. People are going to see through that. People out in the heartland America, like you and like those folks in Ohio that are seeing these Haitians and others come in, are not going to know better. It is squarely on the shoulder of the executive. And she can try to say, I'm not Joe Biden all she wants. However, this is the Biden-Harris administration. She's the number 2 person in that administration. So when she tries to distance herself from Joe Biden, what she's saying is she is such a weak and ineffective leader that she has absolutely zero influence on the administration, even though she's the number 2 person, which shows how weak she is. Of course, maybe it's a good thing that she doesn't have as much influence as she would like to have, because when Trump said that she and her father are Marxists, notice that she never denied that.
Bingo. You got that. Let's go into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. And everybody hang around, okay? We'll be right back, I promise. Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for 2 or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future. at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show. For truth matters, and it hurts sometimes. I'm just telling you. But you know what? Truth can set you free, and that's just the way it is. You can find us on the radio at iacradio.media, where we are Fox News affiliates. You can also find us on television, Channel 182, Charter Communications, and Abundance Television Syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And I love the podcast, The Newscaster Studio. So you can find us, download the app, thenewscasters.com. I have my friend Don Brown with us right now. He's an author and a speaker. Let's talk about your books before we dig in.
Well, thank you, Donna. We have a book that we've signed a contract on. I'm pleased to report with Post Hill. The book is called Kangaroo Court, and it is a look at corrupt political prosecutions, starting with the Ted Stevens prosecution, leading all the way up to the Trump prosecutions. We have thumbnail reviews of the way the Democrats have used political prosecutions to attack the Constitution, to wage war on the Constitution, which is exactly what it is, and a call for a solution that is for rogue prosecutor laws. Jack Smith, Fannie Willis, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, anybody that brings a prosecution primarily for political reasons, whether against a public figure like President Trump or Ted Stevens or Kay Bailey Hutchinson or the governor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, all who were prosecuted, or against private citizens like Paul Vaughn and Mark Howe, pro-life fathers that were both prosecuted for felonies by Biden, or Jacob Chansley, the guy with the horns on January 6th, who they said was a face of insurrection, but turned out, to be best buddies with the Capitol Police, or Douglas Mackey, the cartoonist who did an anti-Hillary cartoon in 2016, prosecuted by the Democrats in 2021. Whether these political prosecutions are brought against major public figures or private American citizens expressing their views like those folks, the prosecution itself should be classified as a crime. And so the book calls for that. Again, the book will be Kangaroo Court, and the contract has been signed with Post Hill Press out of New York. We're expecting to be released in October. I don't think it's up yet for pre-sale on Amazon, but we'll keep you posted on that. This book needs to be in the hands of every American.
You know something? I used to love this TV show called Saturday Night Live. Now, this is back in the day where they made fun of everybody. It wasn't just Republicans. They need to hire me because I can do a great Kamala. So this is what I wanted. Okay, so I'm on Saturday Night Live right now. Okay, I'm auditioning right now. Okay, so you know something? This is a cup, and it has my lipstick on it right here. So this is what I want to tell. This is what I want to tell Starbucks. Okay, can we get black tops to go on top of this so it doesn't show my lipstick on here? Did you hear that?
Hey, you're cracking me up, Donna. I think what you should do is
I'm not making anything up. She actually did that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I think that you should give Saturday Night Live a run for its money. Y'all should start broadcasting about 11 o'clock on Saturday night. And when you do that sort of thing, it will take off like wildfire. Let me tell you, because you're cracking me up over here. You got her nailed.
I got her nailed. Well, I'll just put my Joker mask on so it'll be more realistic.
Exactly.
Okay. So, but she actually did that. Do you call that campaigning?
Well, she's not campaigned at all. She quote unquote debated because she was forced into it. She's going to go back in the hole. You expect her to answer tough questions from the press. She's not going to get tough questions from the mainstream press. Look, you and I suspected during the debate between Trump and Biden that the deep state media was in on that to get rid of Biden. It's in retrospect, that's absolutely clear. The CNN lackeys did that. Last night, ABC was back to the media's old self of quote unquote fact checking Trump and doing everything they can to help her out. And so, that's where we are. So. Okay,
I want to talk to you about something else because I'm not totally, I hold Republicans at fault too. I do, some of them. And so one of them are, and of course, they hated George Bush Jr. They hated him. Of course, now he's on Kamala's side. And they also hated John McCain. I mean, remember when he was running against Obama? And it was just like they just trashed him. What is wrong with the family members here of these people? I mean, they're now John McCain's a hero. Well, they trashed him to beyond when he was running for president.
Right. Trash you yesterday, praise you today, if it's to your advantage to do that. And of course, Kamala will talk about John McCain's famous thumbs down vote, which saved Obamacare. But Don McCain is not the only Republican that saved Obamacare. John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, did so also. I think it's important to realize that we are no longer in a Democrat versus Republican, dividing line. Although more Republicans are on the right side and the correct side, but we're in a dividing line of American nationalism, where we put America first, undergirded by the United States Constitution, the greatest document written outside the Bible itself, the United States Constitution, which is a freedom document, versus one world globalism. And you see Republicans on both sides of that. The Dick Cheneys, the Liz Cheneys, the McCains, even the Bushes, and Bush 41, New World Order, for example, they are on the side of one world order globalism. Bobby Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, those Democrats who have come over, left the Democrat Party and are supporting Trump, understand this. I heard Bobby Kennedy talking about the issues that Democrats embrace: forever wars, censorship, lack of debate. They'll ad hominem, with the phrase he uses, ad hominem attack against their political opponents. And so that's what's breaking. You see those things, censorship, the fact that the Section 702 of the National Defense Authorization Act lets them basically record every American's phone conversation, whether they listen to it or not. They're recording it. We have a conversation this afternoon. It's recorded somewhere up there. They may not listen to it. But all that is against the American Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, which gives us the right to privacy and our persons, places, peoples, and effects requiring a search warrant. They want to throw all that in the trash can for the sake of growing government power. So when you see the Dick Cheneys, who's a warmonger, and his idiot daughter, who is out of the same cloth, go over on the other side, they want to push and protect the mechanism of government. To them, the perpetuation of the federal government is more important than the United States Constitution, to which they only pay lip service, or to individual liberty. They want to be able to spy on you, Donna. They want to be able to tape record your conversations. They want to be able to use fake dossiers to get courts to issue search warrants so they can spy on you. They want to be able to prosecute you if you say the things they don't want you to say. They want to have that power because they're globalist. And globalism starts with the worship of government. And so that's where the line is. So you're seeing some realignments, of course. The ones who've gone over on that side are in the globalist camp. Those like Tulsi and Bobby Kennedy and Elon Musk, who have left the party, are in the nationalist camp. Even Joe Manchin has left the party, even though he hasn't come to the Republican Party. Matter of fact, I don't even think neither Bobby Kennedy nor Tulsi Gabbard have become Republicans. They're independents that time, but they've left and denounced the Democrat Party, which is the greatest threat to freedom in America today, and there's not even a close second. So when we talk about McCain and these people, they're going to understand it's driven primarily by globalism and by an absolute hatred for Trump, because Trump stands against the entrenched governmental establishment, which they want to build and grow. It is their empire. Mm-hmm. And the analogy is the communist state. It's all about the worship of the state. The state in and of itself is the God that they look to. And globalists look to the state as their God. They want more power, more oversight, more agencies, more regulations, more this, more that. They think the solution to every problem is more and more and more from the government. It's like Reagan said, the scariest words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help." And amen to that. And God bless the president.
That is absolutely scary. I can't stay away from school. I mean, I love to study and grow and all those things. So my latest thing, of course, I was horticulture last year. This year it's narcissism. And there's so many things that I have learned. There are so many things. I think of the Cheneys and the Bushes as the flying monkeys. A narcissist can't really do their thing unless they have followers. Unless they have flying monkeys, like the Wizard of Oz, the flying monkeys. They can't do their thing unless they have these stupid flying monkeys, and they've got plenty of them out there.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you think about it. I mean, here you are. You said you're a Republican. And I'll throw Colin Powell in this group as well. He's no longer with us. He took the jab. I don't know what happened to him. He passed away. I'm not saying there's a causal connection, but I'll say this. These people claim to be Republicans and now openly support a Marxist who's called for single-payer health care, who is a warmonger, who is a supporter of the military-industrial complex, a big reason the Cheney's in bed with her, by the way, because that's more important than anything else. Who has in the past, voted against the Born Alive Protection Act, therefore advocated late-term abortions, tearing babies' little arms apart in the womb in the late term. She's advocated all this. We'll deny it or run from it now. But anybody paying attention, you can't run for your record. But these people who claim to be conservatives who are now supporting someone like that, even if you don't like Trump personally, okay, he's rubbed you wrong, you don't like his personality, you don't like what he said about McCain, you don't like his tweets, even if you don't like that, you're turning your country over basically to communism. That's what these people are doing. I've lost all respect for them. Lost all respect for Mike Pence. We wouldn't even know Mike Pence's name if it weren't for Trump. And when Mike Pence was coming out running against Trump, the guy who made him vice president, the president asked me to go against the Constitution. Well, that's just a load of malarkey. There's nothing in the Constitution that President Trump asked Pence to do. The fact of the matter is that the vice president made president of the Senate to provide over the electoral count, and there is no other specific guidance from the Constitution other than the vice president is over that. And we know from 1960 that then Vice President Nixon had competing electors from Hawaii and had to make a on-the-spot decision and counted the Democrat electors against himself. But the Constitution did not specifically give him the specific authority to do that. It gave him general authority. So when Pence is saying he asked me to violate the Constitution, he's just full of himself because he's trying to sustain whatever semblance of importance he thinks he once had. So the point is, if you don't like President Trump's personality or whatever you don't like about him, you're going to turn the country over to communists. You're going to set the Constitution on fire because of that. It's interesting. I had a friend and a client in the other day, and she doesn't really like what's going on. Been a kind of a lifelong Democrat, but has voted Republican some, but doesn't really like what's going on with the economy. But she says, but if he gets in, will there be a dictatorship? I said, what are you talking about? He was in before. Did you have a dictatorship?
Well, was it then?
Right.
I don't get that at all.
Right. And, and I thought he was very strong last night, by the way, in the debate when he pointed out that he had recommended, not only did he say peacefully and patriotically, make your voices heard, which is what he said, which they don't want you to know. He also called on Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and he made National Guard troops available to surround the Capitol. Any so-called insurrection, in a quote, is on them. They gaslit this thing by turning that down and probably by putting FBI in the middle of those protesters as well.
Well, I have to tell you, I also think of Pence. I think, I know Trump had several leaks in his authority. I know he did. I think Pence was the big one. The mealy-mouthing, I'm meek and all that kind of stuff was just a bunch of malarkey there.
I agree.
I think he was key in that. I really did, because I have a friend, Ann Eubank, was there, and she's with the Alabama Legislative Watchdogs. There are people who run from her. They're afraid of her here in Montgomery. One of my best friends. I'm going to tell you, I go to her for everything. So anyway, she was there. So here's what she said. And I mentioned this to you before, but let's talk to the people who haven't heard this. Okay, there were people on the left. There were people on the right at the Capitol. And then there were people in the middle. And there were a bunch of preachers on one side. I said, I find it interesting you were on the other side. But anyway, so she said some buses came through, charter buses, that we hear about charter buses all the time. They must be making a killing. So anyway, she said a bunch of people you could tell they didn't fit in with the crowd. They came in, they mingled going into the middle section, but they weren't sitting together. They were mingling in that. She said, this is what really happened. The minute Pence said, it's lunch or whatever he said, take a break for lunch. The second he said that is when all hell broke loose. And she said those people who filtered in started running up there, and then a few bystanders for some reason or another ran with them. And she said That's it. So she suspects Pence too. And I said, well, I do. I suspect he's one of the mouthpieces who was planted.
Of course, he's always wanted to be president. You bring Trump down. He was thinking at that very moment that he would have an opportunity to run for president and be a viable contender in 2024 if he brought Trump down. I believe that is a very solid and logical theory, and that's based upon his actions after that and his disingenuous claims that Trump asked him to ignore the Constitution. I don't think Pence would know the Constitution, if somebody hit him over the head with it. But I tend to believe certainly. And what was that? At the end of it all, when he does a fist bump with Nancy Pelosi and she gives him some kind of a coin, what was that all about? We still don't have an answer to that question. I would like to know the answer to that question.
I would never do a fist bump with Nancy Pelosi. And anything. Never.
I wouldn't do a fist bump with Pence anymore, to tell you the truth. So
no. I think he's I think he was key to try to bring Trump down. I really do. Then there's Tim Walz.
Oh my goodness, Donna. Oh goodness. You sent me a little meme the other day. Somebody had recorded him in a bikini, dancing around in a bikini.
I wish I'd never seen that. It's in my brain.
Well, the other thing is I wanted to say about Minnesota is, Minnesota is like New York. There are lots of great, and like California, there are lots of great conservatives in those states. The problem is that the communists outnumber the conservatives. If you look at, if you look at the state of Minnesota, most of it's red, except for those blue counties, mainly Hennepin County. But afterwards, last night, I was listening to some commentary, and Marco Rubio was pointing out, when the disingenuous quote fact check came to Trump, or this fact check, there's no state in the country that allows abortion up to birth. Well, Marco Rubio pointed out that Minnesota does, and I was reading an article this morning that Walz had signed a bill to water down the Born Alive Protection Act. In other words, the language in Minnesota used to say that if a child is born, that the physician will do everything to help the child live and survive. He wanted to change the language. The physician will do whatever to provide care for the child. In other words, not to make it live or survive, make he or the baby live or survive, but to provide care until the mother made a decision to kill it after birth. And this guy is a real nutcase. I mean, he's got guys that he served with in the National Guard come out against him. He was a command sergeant major about to be deployed with his troops, and he pulled the ripcord on his troops. I mean, that's like your daddy stepping away from you right before they're going to, if you're a daughter, before he walks you down the aisle to get married. Or it's like your coach, you go to the Super Bowl, you work and work and work. And at the very last minute, I'm not going to coach anymore. I'm going to turn you to the assistant coach. What message does that send to the troops? Now, could he retire? Yeah, he was legally entitled to retire, but that's beside the point. The point is, what message do you send to your troops when you bail on them on the eve of the deployment? And that's the message that he sent. This guy, of course, she couldn't get anybody else to run with her. She wasn't going to take Shapiro because he's Jewish, the governor of Pennsylvania. Yeah. Governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, who shut the state down as a piece of work in and of himself, but is perceived, not accurately, but perceived to be more moderate. He didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, and neither did Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona. Why did Kelly and Cooper not want to touch it? Because they view her as political kryptonite. That's the reason. But Walz is all she can wind up with. And, he doesn't help her at all. They're going to win Minnesota anyway. They're going to win Minnesota. So it doesn't help her any at all anywhere else. The things that are coming out about him now shows that what we have is just one Marxist basically paired with another. And you got a Marxist ticket on the Democrat side this time.
So in the boys' restrooms, you want to have tampons? That's what he orchestrated. Okay, why? Okay, I want to ask you. This is a big question right here, and I'm pretty sure you're going to have some good words about this. Okay, I feel a lot of this has to do with population control. Okay, because you want kids so messed up in the head that they don't know whether they're a boy or a girl. You want to mutilate them Okay, when they're at a young age, don't let the parents know what they're thinking. Okay, that's just between them and whoever the philosopher is at school. Okay, you got that going. They're not going to be able to reproduce, right?
Right.
Because of those things. So it's appear okay. Abortion, you got to do that. The baby's got to be laying. It can be on the table. All of these things to me point to population control. What are your
No,
thoughts?
well, we started an interview from the last segment at 30,000 feet. Let's go back to 30,000 feet. Look at the big picture. Population control is part of the globalist agenda, and that's very, very clear. There's no question about that. And from that subset, you look first at abortion, and you understand that Margaret Sanger was a racist, and so yes, abortion is designed to carry out population control. But the thing that folks aren't seeing is that these abortion clinics are put primarily in black neighborhoods around the country. It is population control designed to depopulate primarily the black population. And
Which is a racist thing, right?
Of course it is. Of course it is. If you're pro-abortion, whether you realize it or not, you can yell all you want. My body, my choice. Blah 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 blah. I mean, forget the baby's body. When a baby's 7 months and 2 months from term, and you can pull the baby's arms apart. Forget the baby's body. You can say my body, my choice, all you want to. But these clinics are predominantly in African American or black, whatever you want to call them. Like Trump said, I don't care what you call them. Margaret Sanger was a racist. You cannot be a committed abortionist and fully understand it without knowing what the motivation is behind it. It's population control. And of course, it's not just population control against the black Americans, but that demographic feels the heaviest brunt of it. But they want population control. I mean, it's interesting. We've talked about the whole vaccination of experimental COVID vaccines. And as I pointed out from federal litigation I've been involved with in 10 months in 2021, the federal VAERS system reported more deaths, DEATHS, from the 3 COVID vaccines in that 10-month period than from every other vaccine combined, meaning, hepatitis, meaning German measles, meaning smallpox, meaning rubella, whatever. From those 3, outnumbered more deaths in a 10-month period than from every other vax combined over 30 years. Population control is a globalist objective. And I agree with you that the use of abortion is a main weapon to carry out that objective.
And then not being able to reproduce because you are confused about what sex you are.
That's right.
That's a biggie. That's a biggie.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
The election is coming up. Do you feel like something big is going to happen? Is World War III going to break out? I mean,
well, we are now a little over 2 weeks away from October. We've heard the phrase October surprise. I'm expecting the Democrats to do something. I don't know what yet. It's going to be a war. It's going to be, is Russia going to, are they going to try to do something to escalate the whole thing in Ukraine? Putin, of course, endorsed Kamala, which I thought was funny. They would say, you get these dictators, he endorsed her. But I expect him to do something. It could be, and we've been watching on the radar the swine flu stuff. And will they try another pandemic? They might try. I think they're going to have a lot of problems credibility-wise. But what they're trying to do right now, even without a major thing, is they're trying to use the courts as best they can to rig the election. Now, Bobby Kennedy, for example, has said he wants off the ballot in swing states, okay? He wants off the ballot. And he would remain on the ballot in states that aren't swing states. North Carolina, which is considered to be a swing state, I don't know how true that is, but it's considered that, has taken the North Carolina Supreme Court took him off the ballot after the Democrat-controlled Board of Elections did not want to do that. The Supreme Court of North Carolina came down with a ruling. He doesn't want to be on the ballot. He was withdrawing. He's off the ballot. Okay. By contrast, look at Michigan. Michigan, which has a lot of great folks, and probably I think Trump won that last time. I know a lot of stuff that happened at TGF Center in Detroit and in Wayne County, which is a corrupt cesspool. But the Michigan Supreme Court has refused to allow Bobby Kennedy to be removed from the ballot, even though he wants to be removed. So you're asking about, will they try things? They're already trying things. They're trying things that maybe a number of your viewers had not heard what I just said, but they're trying things behind the scene already, even if we don't see some sort of overt type of thing that they might try. I think that they, they're going to probably continue to monitor her polls. And I think what happened last night is similar in some ways to what happened with the Democratic convention. They're trying to flash it and, trying to spin it in a way that gives them an advantage. But then, I was a musician back in the day. I used to play the jazz band at Chapel Hill. We had a thing called a decrescendo. That's when you go from loud to softer and softer and softer. And I think you're going to see, whatever bang they are trying to create a bang from this debate in her favor, just like they tried to create a bang in her favor from the Democratic convention. And it's going to fade, 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 and fade. I'm looking for them to try something. I don't know exactly what it is, but we got to be on mark, and we can't let them get away with it.
No, we got to be on mark. But I'm going to tell you what I think happened last night. Too many people like me who have a narcissist in their family saw through this. Okay, even undeciders. I don't think there was ever a honeymoon with anybody in the United States except for people who can't think for themselves, who are Democrats and who are just idiots. So what I see happening, because again, I'm judging it real world, boots on the ground with my emails I'm receiving. People were turned off by that.
And Donna, I think that Kamala has a very Hillary-like fingers on the chalkboard effect.
I mean, can't stand to hear her speak.
Right. And she tried to control the cackling, but then with all the arm flailing and the wincing and the head shaking and the facial gestures, she does not have the it factor. She is not presidential timber. The information I have is that she has a big problem, not just with males, but with black males. I mean, a big, big, big problem with African-American men who she just grates on their nerves, and they can see through her. And they're trying to gaslight issues, abortion. They're trying to gaslight white suburban women to go out in droves and vote Democrat. That's exactly what they're trying to do. That's their strategy at this point. But they got a problem. They got a problem, across the board, especially with male voters, and black male voters also, and more women, of course. Most of the women I know, are Trump supporters, are conservatives. But I do know that there are, you mentioned your sister and you mentioned others that are crazy liberals, and they're out there. Mm-hmm. And that is the demographic that they are trying to gaslight with their incendiary rhetoric right now. Yeah,
but you don't need to think about those men who have had ex-wives just like her. I mean, I'm talking black, white, purple, whatever color you are. Somebody in every family has had an ex-wife exactly like that woman, and she reminded us all of that woman last night. She most certainly did.
And the divorce rate in the United States is over 50%. There are a lot of them out there, Donna, just so you'll know.
There are. I'm just telling you, it's going to backfire on them. So we're going to have to come up with something else. Don, just about 30 seconds left. What would you like to tell the folks before you go?
Well, what I'd say is, to quote a Democrat, James Carville, "It's the economy, stupid." And tell your friends and neighbors that may still be on the fence, go to the gas station, go to the grocery store, and then go to the polls and vote your pocketbook, and understand that the Democrats have destroyed it. They are an existential threat to the United States Constitution. Mm-hmm. If you're a Democrat, leave now and never look back.
And I'm going to add to that. If you have a narcissist in your family that you have to be careful of around Christmas time, she's that narcissist. And also, if you have an ex-wife who's very much like Kamala Harris, don't vote for her, because that's the country you're going to wind up having. Don, thank you so much for being on the show. Website again for your books.
DonBrownBooks.com. Be on the lookout for Kangaroo Court, which should be hopefully on sale on Amazon next time we talk, Donna. We're really, really close.
If it happens before then, call me and we'll get you on the show real quick.
You got it.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and thanks for the emails, okay? That makes my day. I hope you have a super duper awesome rest of the day. Bye-bye.